Hello and welcome to the Football Home podcast, also known as FHP. Again, it's a group of friends from all around the world talking about a sport we all love, which is football. So this week we're going to be talking about what's been happening in the midweek games for game week 12. I believe there was 9 games, and the first one we're going to be chatting about is the Brighton versus Nottingham game, which was a draw from both sides. Obviously, we know that Brighton, unfortunately, in the past 3 games, haven't been sort of like having a good track record. And usually, Nottingham Forest is a team that, unfortunately, always gets beaten by the top 19 teams. But fortunately for them, they were able to run away with the point in this one. Andreas, what are your thoughts on Brighton's sudden dip in performance?
I think we have talked about it before, and just on the Tuesday episodes we talked about, is this like how much was Potter an influence in this team becoming great? And I actually heard a pretty interesting fact that the new manager of Brighton, don't remember his name quite right now. What's his name?
Roberto something.
Yeah. Thank you, Warren. He has said that his dream formation is 4-2-3-1. But he wants to be respectful to Potter and what they have been building, Potter and Brighton. So he's not trying to use that right now. But it's really, really interesting having a manager that actually wants to play a specific formation, but has not really done that yet. And I think if like from his first game you could say, okay, fair enough, you're trying to do what Potter did, and that's fair. Yeah. But I think looking at it now, I think it's about time that he tried to make this his own team, because Potter is not there anymore. I get that a lot of what Potter did is still a part of what Brighton is, but it is a new manager. He needs to try stuff, and if it doesn't work, then that's a problem. But it's worth trying out. So I think it's really interesting that he has this style, and if you Google him, there will come all kind of stuff up about what kind of style he wants to play, and then he actually has a really, really clear style of football, and that comes down mostly to the 4-3-2-1 formation, 4-2-3-1 formation. So yeah, I think that's worth trying. Again, looking at stats, Brighton had 70% of possession, and I don't remember the quite stats from last week, but I remember that Brighton was really dominant in possession as well, and they didn't win. So I think this is becoming a thing for them where they have a lot of possession, but not any goals, and then it doesn't really matter how much possession you have.
I think before we jump to Warren, there's a comment from Mark Justice saying hello to Andreas, I believe.
Yeah, that's someone I know.
Oh, awesome. Our first actual real fan of yours. So congratulations to us.
Hey, man.
Thank you for the comment.
Thank you for the comment.
But yeah, Warren, I guess you can sort of like to jump onto the Nottingham Forest perspective. I mean, you have countlessly said that you've enjoyed watching their games. What do you think is lacking with them? Obviously, this in some way is a positive result, but watching the game, that 0 shots on target, and it's really embarrassing. While Brighton had 7 shots on target, they really,
Yeah, it's. I think it's because there's so many people. There's so many people on this team, and I don't think the manager has figured out who his key players are, because not everybody gets that constant time on the field, constantly in games consecutively. Going forward, I think that's going to be something that Steve Cooper needs to think about. I mean, I'm not a football manager, but I'm thinking, like, if you want to figure out who your best team is, watch them play, watch the games that you've played back, and see who your key players are. Oh, hi, Hector. And definitely, even though Henderson, I think Henderson saved Nottingham from all those shots that Brighton gave, and he got the points for it, like in the FPL as well. He was their star of the night, and I think it's because of who he placed on in the team. Like the people that normally strike, get the goals in, Gibbs White was there. It was brilliant as usual. But I mean, you got that Iombi on the bench,
Yeah.
and he's been the key, scorer in games, and especially against teams like Brighton. So they got lucky with the win, and it might give them, momentum going into Saturday's game. But that's going to be a tall order, and I hope for us they figure it out, because as we'll talk about Leicester later on, they are gaining some ground now on Forest, and
Mm.
this is going to become an interesting little battle there at the bottom now with Forest and Wolves and Leicester.
Yeah, and another comment from an important member of the show saying Haaland over Nunes. Richard, change that nickname right now. Unfortunately, I won't, because Haaland scored. Well, Nunes scored this week, and Haaland didn't, only because he was playing. So there's that. But yeah, I guess with that we'll jump on to the next game, which is the Crystal Palace versus Wolves game.
Ooh.
This game was a game where I think both teams sort of like were evenly matched. Even look at position, both of them had about the same amount, and they had the same amount of shots on target. But I think Wilfred Zaha, being man of the match, really was able to give them that confidence with the goal he scored along with Eze. So Crystal Palace, haven't had the best journey this season as compared to the previous season. But I think they have something good going. And I think an important thing for us to talk about too is Wolves scoring a goal. That's not usual. And guess who scored? Someone we know quite regularly in Adama Traore. Warren, what are your thoughts on Wolves' sudden, goal scoring record? Air quotes.
Yeah, I think they're dipping into something now, because this is now the second game in a row that they've scored. Last game week it was Neves. It was a penalty, but he scored. He got a goal in. So they're getting their noses in front. And then this week it was from Adama Traore, who hasn't been, he's been putting on that baby oil, and maybe he's something new in his baby oil is in his
Absolutely.
it is scoring, but they're getting one goal in, but they're letting go of the game, and it's worrisome for me, because they get one goal, and we all know in Premier League one goal is, even in other leagues, one goal is not enough. One goal doesn't get you anything, and we saw it happening. Wolves dominated the first half of the game. They did get their feet into the game, and they really gave Palace a run for their money. But as if we'll talk about Palace later, or just now, you'll see from the second half, Palace just took control. That pep talk in the dressing room from Patrick maybe just gave them that little push. But I think we've been discussing it with Wolves now. Jimenez isn't there. Neto is injured. He's probably out for a couple of months. So it's difficult for them. Their new signings haven't really shown us anything magical. I know Andrea said in the chat he just wants Diego Costa just get a goal in, and it hasn't happened. So maybe this weekend, I don't know who they're playing. I can't remember, but Wolves, excuse me, needs to get into that tendency of getting more goals in. It's about like you can if you can park the bus, you can park the bus as much as you want to, but you can't get further in the Premier League, especially with them being at the bottom. You can't depend on one goal or draw. You're not gonna get into the top half like that.
Andreas, would you like to tell us your thoughts on how obviously Crystal Palace in the second half were one goal down, and then they jumped to having two goals? The sudden change from Patrick Vieira.
Yeah, I think Palace in general, the last couple of seasons has really become a pretty good team actually. Like I remember a few seasons ago they were kind of just there, and people were talking about, are they going to get relegated and stuff like that. But last couple of seasons they have become a pretty strong team, and I know they have had problems this season so far. But I strongly believe Palace is a really strong mentality team where when they're down like this, they know, okay, we need to go into this and do something else in second half. And also Palace, we are talking about Palace being a pretty strong defensive team. They have some really, really great offensive players, like Zaha, one of the best players in all of Premier League, is also a really, really, really strong player. So so there really are some offensive great players in the team, and when it, so I'm not really shocked about them really coming back into this and know they have to win, because they have the players for it. They've just not been quite there yet, but right now it looks like they are getting back this season, and that's great. I think quickly with Wolves, I think as exactly as Roman says, this is all about Costa. Like, where is he? Where is he? He needs to get these goals, and I'm willing to bet that until he starts to score, or until the other striker, Jimenez, I think that's his name, right?
Yeah, Jimenez,
Raul Jimenez,
until he comes back, or Costa starts scoring, I think Wolves will have problems, because Adama Traore is an amazing player, but he's more this playmaker. He's not going to be the big goal scorer. So they need Costa, they need Jimenez, they need one of those to be the big goal scorer. And right now they just don't have that. And as Warren said, one goal is not enough to win matches in Premier League. So yeah, and they are still the least scoring team so far this season, with only 5 goals. So that's really not good.
Yeah, I guess that sums it up. We'll just jump on to the next game, which is Brentford versus Chelsea. Obviously, we have a huge Chelsea fan on the podcast in Andreas. So, talking just a quick run through in the stats of the game. Chelsea dominated possession. They had twice as much possession as the opposition. They had more chances, but both teams had an equal number of shots on target. Again, Kepa Arrizabalaga won man of the match. Props to him. But again, it's like, man, what's up with Chelsea? Like, we thought that you guys finally cracked your algorithm. Things are going well, but Brentford was like, no way, Jose. And we're going to chat just about that.
Yeah, I was on a concert, so I didn't see it live, but I was able to watch it afterwards.
Maybe that's why you guys didn't win. I'm saying maybe that's why you guys didn't win. Your presence.
Probably it's my fault. I was not there. No, I was able to watch it later, and I think we did a good job. Like, I don't think this was us being bad, but I really also think Brentford is really not a team to underestimate at all, because they really are great. And like, I mean, it's not good enough. I can't act like, oh, it's okay, Brentford was amazing. Like, Chelsea should be able to beat with Brentford. I can't say something that's not true. We should be able to win. But I mean, no team will go through a whole season without having some bad matches. It happens to everyone, and I hope that's just what this was. I think, like, if we keep going for 3 more matches where we have results like this against smaller teams, or if we go out and lose the next big matches, then I will start getting worried. But only looking at this match, I'm not worried, because we have been doing so good, and Brentford is not a team. And also, just quickly, I'm really, really happy with Kepa. Like, that man has been something I wanted out for ages, and now he's just suddenly become a great keeper. I don't know what happened, but that's amazing to look at right now. But yeah, so for right now, I'm not worried. But of course, if this continues a few more games, then it's a problem.
Yeah, I guess there's no bigger advocate for Brentford at the moment
than me. This is one thing before I continue with the thing. I just want to say, what's going on with Andreas? What's happening with him? Because he was like, who's this Kepa? Why is Kepa between the sticks? And now he's praising Kepa. It's like, such a turnaround. I'm just pulling your leg there. Okay, so Brentford. Don't get me started. I was so frustrated with this game, to be honest. I really thought Brentford would give Chelsea. Well, they did give them a run for their money, because it was a draw. They each got a point. But I mean, I captain Tony, and I was so upset because you know he didn't deliver. It's like a hit and miss with him. But I mean, I don't know. Brentford has been inconsistent. So yes, they are a strong team, but they've been inconsistent, and they have yet to. I think they have yet to face off against one of um, the big teams like Chelsea and
Big six.
they got Chelsea, but they still need to get Spurs, and then they still need to get Liverpool, and they still need to get Man City. And they can beat Leeds and they can beat Manchester United, but then you get Chelsea, and then it's just frustrating because I want to root for them, and I probably still will, but they currently I think they're like ninth on the log, and they went from sixth or fourth, and they just dropped, and I really think that team needs the consistency isn't there, and that's worrisome. But Chelsea is a tough team, and I'll give it to them. I think the true test is going to be on Saturday when Chelsea faces Man United, and that's going to be a tasty affair. I do think that's going to be a test for Chelsea. I think Brentford has the easier fixture this coming game week, so I think that is where they can maximize on the points. Hopefully, Tony will arise to the occasion and get them through it. But I mean, at this point, it's with Brentford, it's the same like with Fulham. If you speak about Brentford, you speak about Tony, and if you speak about Fulham, you speak about Mitrovic. So it's like the team depends on him, and there's a lot of people injured on. I think Andreas's Danish superstar needs to come back, Christian Norgard, and really help them because he's probably one of the key players at this moment that's missing and the difference maker besides Tony.
Yeah, I guess with that, we'll just jump on to the next game, which is the Bournemouth versus Southampton game, where both teams almost had an equal amount of possession. Bournemouth just slightly had more, but both teams had an equal number of shots on target. But Bournemouth had more creative chances, and it seems like a trend. The team that tends to have more creative chances ends up not winning the game. It's almost like a curse of sorts. Southampton, look, I mean, Ralph Hasenhuttl has done so much for the team. If he is still the manager, because people are getting sacked left and right at this point, you might.
Oh
not
my
even
God, I can't keep up.
Yeah, he's been there for so long, so props to him. He's kind of doing something right, and I guess him getting these 3 points, even though it's against Bournemouth, who a team that's also been sort of like progressing in their own right. It's something. Warren, what do you think? Southampton got away with the win this game.
Yes, I think they definitely needed this win. They needed this boost for momentum purposes and mentality wise. They needed this going forward into the thing. And Shea Adams, like he did with Leicester, just rose to the occasion and he got the goal in. And they actually did it really, really early as well. I was shocked. And they actually managed to do what a lot of teams couldn't do, even Newcastle against the new and improved Bournemouth. That should be a big, big, big feather in not just the coaches cap, but even for the whole team. I hope that they can take this momentum moving forward. Like we said, Bournemouth had the majority of the creative chances, but they couldn't do anything against it. That should actually give them a lot of confidence. Southampton, that is, moving forward because they were able to block out that attack, Bulling and who's the other person there in Bournemouth that's really, really strong. I can't get to his name now, but definitely this was a must win for Southampton, and I'm happy that they got it. I just hope that they can continue to build on this now moving forward. But definitely a big win for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Andres, I guess you can share us your perspective in terms of what went wrong Bournemouth, because clearly they had the chances, but unfortunately, even though they had possession, they just couldn't do much with it against this opposition.
Yeah, I think I think looking at it from Bournemouth from the last many matches now, I think I'm going to make the conclusion that this was actually Southampton just doing a really good job
You're right.
At being defensive, because this is their first clean sheet. And if you had told me that Bournemouth would be the team that gave Southampton their first clean sheet, I would have told you were crazy. And I think I think that's it. And that's because Bournemouth has been a pretty good team. 10 goals so far in this season from Bournemouth, and that's pretty fine. So I think looking at this, I think it's more Southampton really stepping up their game for this match more than it's Bournemouth doing something wrong, honestly. But of course Bournemouth have to use that they are facing a team like Southampton that's not doing good right now. But I do think at the end of the day, it was mostly Southampton just doing a really good defensive job.
Do you think that Bournemouth got complacent going into this game?
I think so. I think when you are a new team in Premier League, I think when you start on this run where you just do so great as Bournemouth have, I think you can end up getting kind of too comfortable in a way.
Complacent, yeah.
Yeah, and it happens a lot of times. Like Leeds did it, Brentford did it last season. There's a lot of teams like because when they come up, they have this like they are ready for this and don't expect to do great because they know they are the baddest teams in the league. So I think when you get on this good run, I think you can kind of mess with your head in a way, to be honest. And I think, but also with that said, I think it's a good thing kind of losing now, because now they can see, okay, we are not immortal. We have to step up our game, because Southampton as a team is not a bad team. Like every Premier League team is a good team. So you can't just be like, okay, it's just Southampton. Like that's not how it works in Premier League. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess with that, we'll jump on to a game that me and Warren are going to love talking about, which is Liverpool's win over West Ham. So obviously, Liverpool's going to dominate possession in the game, have more creative chances than the opposition, typical Liverpool, and we see Nunes score a goal, getting an assist from Tsimikas Kostas, and we see is just trying to double check something. It's not showing. I assume the person that got man of the match was Alisson for saving the penalty kick by Bowen, who unfortunately is going through a bad spell. I think we do need to spend some time talking about these unfortunate West Ham players. So Warren, jump on the Liverpool blowing the whole train.
Okay, so I was thinking that you were going to give me West Ham, but I was like, what the hell is Richard doing?
No.
So let's talk about Liverpool. So yes, impressed that Nunes got his first Anfield goal for Liverpool, because he scored against Liverpool at Anfield when he played for Benfica, Champions League, but that's not what we're talking about. However, happy for him. I was actually screaming and shouting that he actually got. I was happy for him on a personal level, but also as a supporter of Liverpool, I was happy that we got our noses in front, because we tend to now we're in that thing where we're getting our clean sheets and we're not conceding goals. And I think it's easier to play from the front than playing catch up, because you're getting desperate and you make mistakes. However, I will say, happy that we got the points. Happy that Alisson got that save. I was so I was screaming. And amazing for the team. Van Dijk is back to his. I've been giving Van Dijk a hard time lately. These two can attest. But I have to say, this last couple of games, Van Dijk has really, really gotten back into his form, and it's really helped. Even with Matip out and those people out, Milner and coming in later. However, Gomez, I mean, I don't know what happened with him. That was just sloppy. You don't do that in the penalty box ever. That's just giving points away, goals away. We were just very lucky that Alisson knew what to do, and we got points. But second half, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I think it's the lack of attack that we've got. I think Klopp made the wrong substitutions. he took the wrong people off. I know, Nunes went off due to a precaution because he felt something, and that could affect his fitness for us on Saturday. But we don't have Diaz, we don't have Jota, so there's not a lot of strikers to come off the bench, and so that's something to take into consideration because our second half wasn't that was nothing to write home about. We managed to get the clean sheet, we managed to get the 3 points, but it wasn't as crisp and clear and perfect as against Man City if you compare the two games.
Yeah, and just to also comment a bit on the Liverpool side of things, I think one thing I've always said that I hope this person is Nunes. I feel like Liverpool need a striker that just has a high conversion rate because Salah's phenomenon, and last season the first half he was having 3 goal contributions per game, which is awesome. But there are times when he sort of like drops in form, and I think Andres had said that in the 2 previous podcast episodes that it seems like he does lack the sort of like clinicality, because we had like 22 shots this game, which is like the highest out of all the teams, and we've had 7 shots on target and only converted 1. So that really screams a problem. And we're having Trent Alexander-Arnold, who hasn't registered an assist this whole season, but obviously has 3 goals. So there's just something with this change. Salah, being from the wing, trying to score more goals from the center, playing around with these formations. It's giving us a lot of stability, but the fact that we can win these 1, 2, 3 games just registers that consistency, which is something important for Liverpool's mentality. And just want to chat a little bit about Liverpool, then jump on why West Ham lost.
Yeah, I think honestly, like a win is a win. A win will always be like, of course, if you win 1-0, it doesn't matter. A win is a win. But looking at it from the outside and not as a fan, I don't think this is a specifically good job by Liverpool. Like West Ham has lost 6 games this season, and Liverpool only win with 1 goal. And possession-wise, Liverpool doesn't have the ball much more than West Ham. Again, possession doesn't mean everything, but it is interesting that Liverpool does not have more possession. But I think I'm not really looking at this game going like, okay, this changes everything. Liverpool is going to lose now, or I'm not, and I'm not going. Liverpool is going to win everything either. Like for me, Liverpool is before this week.
Yeah,
Liverpool is not going to win. Richard, stop with that. No, this game doesn't really change much for me in how I look at Liverpool. I think it's the same place. I think there are some offensive problems a little bit with Salah, and I don't think Nunez is the right man. I think there is a problem in not having Mané anymore. I think he was really important. I don't think it's because he's not there. I just don't think anyone else is really taking up what they lost in Mané. I think that's mostly how I look at it, and I think that's something to look at in the transfer window, maybe to get something that can kind of be more like Mané.
Or Haaland, something along those lines in terms of clinicality. But I guess with that, we can jump on to the next game, which is Newcastle versus Everton. So this game, man of the match was Kieran Trippier again, one of my favorite players. And I think I can finally use Warren's term, guilty pleasure. It's nice watching these guys.
Yeah.
Almiron, quality player. I've always loved watching, Almiron play, even last season, and the fact that he's finally having an identity in terms of how he plays. You can see he presses more. There's a little bit more intensity in the way he plays. There's some genius in the way he, has off the ball movements. Like you can see, he's very improved under Eddie Howe, who personally I underestimated before he came to Newcastle. So good job on management in terms of that. So I'll do a quick stat run before you guys can share your thoughts. Both teams had about an equal percentage of possession. Newcastle had 4 shots on target, while Everton had zero shots on target and one chance throughout the whole game. So this is a clear domination, and the fact that obviously Newcastle just ran away with 1 goal instead of 4-3 is a shocker. But I guess Andreas, because the manager of Everton is Frank Lampard, someone you know quite well in terms of him being at Chelsea. What do you think he's getting wrong at Everton? Because we saw previous game, I think they were performing decently with Iwobi scoring a goal, Anthony Gordon at times. What's the flaw?
I think the flaw on the flaw honestly is the players Everton has, and because like when you look at him in Chelsea, what he was amazing as was the offensive, and there really was some great offensive players, and he really was great at that. But defensive, it was terrible, and I think that's the problem here, because it's the other way around with the Everton players. Offensive, that it's not really the best players. Where when it comes to the defense, they have some great players right now, and I think that's the problem, because it's a different way of playing than what he wants to. And if you look at goals, I don't think Everton is quite up there with how many goals they have scored. They have scored 9 goals and is 16th in scoring goals, and so that's pretty low, and that's a problem, because that's how he wants to play. He wants to play offensive. He wants to score a lot of goals, and he can't really do that with the players he has right now. And I also do think that, like we have talked about this long time ago in this podcast, that there is a problem with the idea of, okay, Lampard, a great player, he's just coming in and getting these big teams. Like he doesn't have the experience that a lot of other guys does, and that is a problem. I love him. I think he's an amazing person and player, and I think he can be a good manager. But it's just a too, like, Everton is historically a too big team for them to just get him in right now. I think honestly that was a too risky move. And I hope for the best, but I do think they will survive the season, but I don't think they will end up in top 10. And I know an Everton fan that I talked to, and he said he thinks he will survive, as he won't be sacked before the World Cup, but he is not sure that he will be there a long time after the World Cup is over. So there is, like, when we will come to that about Villa, and it's kind of the same situation with who they signed, and I think he is, like, we don't really talk much about it, but I think Lampard could get sacked the start of next season, honestly, if something really doesn't happen soon.
I guess, Warren, you can chat to us more about Newcastle's performance in terms of what really gave them the edge over Everton in this game specifically.
Yeah, it's the same like with what Andrea said. The attacking from Everton isn't there, and Newcastle, you can't play like that against them. You need to, like you saw when Newcastle played against Liverpool. If you don't press them, you're gonna get smothered, and they will concede. They will get goals in. You will concede, and just talking about Everton, Gordon, they've got Mope, Dominic Calvert-Lewin started for the first time. He couldn't do anything. The defense is quite okay, but it's not that impenetrable, because teams are getting past them. And I think that we lost against Man United, they really, really knocked the winds out of their sails a little bit, because they were on such a unbeaten run with draws and stuff like that. But they haven't outright won any games, and that's problematic where Everton is concerned. Now let's talk about Newcastle. What a team! Okay, so just looking at this team, and it's just not Almiron. It's Bruno. You've got Wilson. The goalkeeper's on fire. Nick Pope. I think that was one of the best signings that I could have done this season. I'm not taking away anything from Martin Dubravnik. Not taking anything away from him, but Nick Pope is just on a different class, and Almiron is just. I think and I know Trippier got the man of the match, and he's amazingly got the assist and all that other stuff, the bonus points and everything like that. And he is
Yeah.
one of the the set piece takers, and he's really driving the
Sure.
team as the captain. But Almiron has been on it, on it, on it every game, and he just showed it again against Everton. And I mean, I also expected more goals than one, but I mean, this was an odd game week. I don't
Yeah.
know what was happening,
Absolutely.
but most of the teams got away with one goal, and it was. I mean, it's a clean sheet. It's another 3 points. Newcastle is fifth on the log right now. So there isn't this. It's really really looking great for them. Eddie Howe's been doing an amazing job, and I think um, this weekend I think they're facing Tottenham.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I think they're facing Tottenham. I think so. Yeah, they do. Yes, they are. So that's gonna be quite a test. So hopefully they can pull something out of the bag there.
Quickly with Newcastle, they are right now, along with City, they have 5 clean sheets, which is the best. So both City and Newcastle are right now the best teams in terms of clean sheets.
Wow.
Yeah, and who would have said that with after looking at Newcastle last season, they are one of the two best defensive teams in the world, or maybe at least in European football. But I guess with that, we'll just jump on to the next game, which is I wish Harry was here so that he uh, sort of like gloats about how good Man United were, and there's some things we can talk about that happened off the pitch in terms of politics and egos, perhaps. But yeah, Man United obviously scored 2 goals in this game, beat Spurs. I mean, I was shocked that Harry Kane just looked off color. If someone told me that Harry Kane wasn't playing this game, he's injured, I'd very much believe that without even double checking. Just a quick rundown. um, both teams had a decent amount of possession, 50-50. Man United had 10 shots on target, while Tottenham only had 2 shots on target. I don't know what they were doing with this possession they had. Clearly, Eric Ten Hag ran a masterclass on Conte, and obviously Conte made a press conference interview where he said the last time Man United beat Tottenham, it wasn't Man United that beat Tottenham, it was Ronaldo. And looks like this game, Ronaldo didn't play, and Eric Ten Hag still managed to get one up on Conte. So it was a nice, cheeky little win from Eric Ten Hag. Look, Andreas, what are your thoughts on, obviously Eric Ten Hag's entrance into Man United? And I mean, he has played like what 10-9 games, and he's already sort of like having a good result here against I think Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham. So, what are your
Yep.
thoughts on his time?
I think, hold up, let me see how many times
No
they have
problem.
won. United has won. They have won 6 games this
Yeah,
season. I think this is honestly the best thing that could have happened to United. Honestly, I feel like he is the best. He's the closest they will get to Ferguson, or at least in what they have like
too early
from
to say. I was gonna
from
say too early to say, but I get you.
but in terms of from when he left to now, he has been the one that has been best and been more closest to have his own style and do whatever he feels like. And I think I know all the Ronaldo drama, I get all that, but I honestly think that how he's dealing with that in some ways also shows how great a leader he is, because he's not acting like, oh, Ronaldo has to play. The last manager did that. Ronaldo had to play. He was not able to play his own style because there was all these egos that had to play. Not only Ronaldo, but Fernandes as well, and some others. And I think that's what I really like with Ten Hag, is that he's playing what he wants to play. He's doing what
Yeah,
he thinks is the best, and it's really working. And we talked about it on Tuesday with Newcastle, that when United go out and know they're playing a big team, because Newcastle right now is a pretty big team. they are able to even defensive, they are able to do a really good job, and that's the same they do here. Like Spurs, amazingly offensive, and they don't have a chance here. So like threat scoring, who would have thought threat scoring? So yeah, United really. Like United has its flaws, it really does. And when they're playing smaller teams, they are not always the greatest. But they really, when they come out in these big matches, they really know what to do, and it shows off in the matches.
Yeah, I guess with that, maybe Warren, you can tell us your thoughts on obviously the Man United drama specifically with Ronaldo, and then you can jump on, why you think Tottenham were dismantled.
Yeah, I don't have really much to say about Ronaldo. I'm a fan of Ronaldo. I always have been, even though I support Liverpool. I know, conundrum there, but well, first of all, he was unprofessional. So I get it.
Yes.
Like I get why Ten Hag is reacting the way that he is, and he's doing it after the game, not during the game. After the game, we hear all this stuff. Ronaldo is acting like a little baby, and you're not gonna start every game. You're not gonna play every game. I know you're Cristiano Ronaldo. I know that, and you're this legend. But times have changed. I watched the video of some guys saying, the times have changed. We're not in the new millennium or wherever 1990s anymore, where Ronaldo was this big star. And Ten Hag came in, like Andrea said, he's playing his own game. He's playing his own way of playing, and it's working for him. So why change it? Every time he doesn't play Ronaldo only gets 10 minutes of the game. They do well. He's got Rashford, he's got Fernandes, he's got all these other people, and now Ronaldo acting like the diva that he is, because he's acting like a diva. He's been demoted to the under 21 training, and I mean, that is a slap in the face. And we've been saying it. We've been saying it at the beginning of these episodes. Ronaldo is not going to stay with Man United in January. It's done. He's not staying. If he stays with Man United after this, then he's got no backbone. I think for his own career, he needs to make the move, and hopefully some team signs him. But yeah, I don't think the relationship between Ten Hag and Ronaldo it's peachy at all, and that's drifting into the game. However, let's talk about Spurs.
Yes.
And I was shocked, honestly. But when you've got Richarlison is out, you don't have Kulusevski. I said it in the last podcast. They're gonna suffer because Son hasn't been at his best. If it wasn't for Hugo Lloris, they probably would have scored more. Manchester United probably would have scored more, just based on the amount of shots on target that they had. Fred was amazing. Fernandes, he got actually another goal and it was disallowed. So it was for offside. And
Sancho,
Sancho has been great. So just looking at Spurs, defensively they're great and everything like that. And their midfield is I think a lot of teams envy Spurs' midfield, because Bentancur is there. You've got your you've got all those great players. You've got your Romero. You've got all those players. That's great players, but Tottenham has just proven that they are not impenetrable. They're not the team that everybody said they at the beginning were like Tottenham. Like I mean, where was Kane? It's like if they can't get a penalty, then there's no points from Kane. They're like. And that Son-Kane combination just hasn't been there. So I think there's a lot of things that Conte needs to go think about and go back to the drawing board and see what's going to need to come into this team to lift them, because maybe you need to start Lucas Moura next game and see if that's going to be making part of the front three, because you can't depend on Son anymore. It's sad to say, but you can't. And I think Manchester United was just a better team at the end of the day, and it showed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Warren, are you worried for Spurs, because you talk about trying to do new things? Are you worried for them?
No, it's not a worry. It's just currently they've got two strikers. They've got Son and they've got Kane. The other strikers, Kulusevski and Richarlison, is out injured for how long? I don't know. So he's got another striker on the bench, but he's sitting on the bench till like the 80th minute, which doesn't make sense to me. Why don't you get the game into your own hands, get the goals in first half, run away with the game? Because Manchester United is not a team that you can get allowed to get their noses in front. If you do that, they will protect that lead like a bear or like a lion protecting their little cubs. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna get through that barrier. As soon as you get United on the off skirts and you get your goals in, they unravel and they can't get it. They can't get ahead. Just watch the other matches, then you'll see the previous matches. Whenever United has gone behind, they couldn't recover. But as soon as they get their noses in front, you can forget about it.
Yeah, but I
So,
mean, go on.
I'm not worried for them, but it's something to think about
Yeah.
going forward because he doesn't have a lot of his front strike players available to him. So why not use what you've got?
Yeah.
Why put them on the bench? So that's just something to consider because he's playing the same people every time. And then, I mean, Lucas he's not even playing in the Champions League when they play those matches. So why waste the talent on the bench?
Do you guys think Spurs will have some difficult matches going forward? Like, do you think do you think this loss will be beginning of some troubles for them?
I don't think so. I think
They've
like we've
got
said,
Brighton next. No, Brighton. They've got Newcastle next. So and they still need to face Liverpool before the World Cup. So I don't know, Richard. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we also have to remember that this team also like had a good performance against specifically Liverpool. So there's something to credit about the way Man United has been playing, and I
Yeah,
think you know we have been saying that Spurs hasn't faced a big team, and they faced a big team in Arsenal, and I think they lost, and they're facing United, and then they lost. Even Conte in a press conference said that every time they have to play a big team, their quality just fails them, and it's something they obviously need to work on in the last half of the season, if not going into the next season. But I think they have something good going so far in terms of beating or drawing against the smaller teams. I mean, they actually have a better track record throughout the whole season than Man United. So I think, yeah, it's not end all be all, but maybe against teams like Liverpool and maybe Newcastle, who's turning into a new top 6 team, they could do bad, but yeah, lucky.
I'm starting to worry if Spurs is actually the worst of the top 6 teams in terms of when they face each other, because as you said, they lost to United, Arsenal. I'm starting to think is Spurs maybe not when they are facing the smaller teams, but I'm
I think you're
starting
right.
to think that maybe when
because
one
they
on
drew
one.
against Chelsea as well.
Exactly. I'm starting to think when we go 1-on-1, is Spurs then maybe the worst of the top 6 teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's something to think about. But maybe Spurs is doing something that the other teams are not in, trying to get the maximum points out of the I wouldn't say bottom tier teams, but not top 6 teams and getting the maximum points there because they know they're gonna maybe not do as well against the big teams, and maybe that's gonna be the difference maker at the end of the day. Like the table is very congested where points are concerned, so it's gonna come down to goal differences and stuff like that in 1 or 2 points.
That's actually a really, really good point, Warren. That's actually a really good point that they're probably trying to do the absolute best against the smaller teams because there are more smaller teams than big teams. So it makes sense to go out and actually get some really good points.
So maybe Conte is a little, genius.
Yeah,
that we don't know.
Okay. I guess with that we can jump on to the next game. Huge, obviously aftermath after the game. But Fulham's first half scored 1 goal. Second half we saw Mitrovic have a score brace. Props to him. Again, it's been something that's been it's almost like a church hymn at this point, saying that Mitrovic is what Fulham is all about. Without him, they won't really amount to much. Yes, they could have won by 1 goal. But statistically, Fulham had 60% of the possession. Well, I think they dominated everything: shots on target, chances, passes, everything. So I think it's a well-deserved win, and the score really does show that. And another thing we can talk about is Lewis Douglas getting a red card, obviously which obviously led to Mitrovic's goal. Gerard, what's happening? People are saying you're supposed to succeed, Jurgen Klopp, but at this rate, I don't know who you're succeeding, but Warren, want to tell us your thoughts about why Fulham, really won this game?
Yeah, Fulham is not to be underestimated at all. I mean, they drew against Liverpool, so every time I see Fulham play, I'm like, feel sorry for the team that they have to face because they
Yeah,
haven't been really snowballed. Unless talking about the West Ham game, and there was some controversy there,
yeah,
as per VAR and all that stuff. Penalties given that shouldn't have been given, but let's not go there. Um, but yeah, Fulham dominated. I mean, I watched the game. They dominated the game. Mitrovic didn't get a brace though. He just got the penalty in. The other goal was a own goal by Tyrone Mings, just to clear that
oh,
up. So that is indicative of how bad Villa played, and the scoreline isn't because Villa is a weak team. It's just that there were so many mistakes. And Mitrovic once again was the star of the show. Andreas Ferreira is like one of the key players there. I love watching him play, and yeah, and it's different people scoring. And it's not just I know we keep saying Mitrovic, but I mean this is a second goal for Reed for the season. So it's not just Mitrovic; it's the whole team that's just clicking. And when it goes right for Fulham, it just you can't stop them. And I just think that I think Villa was just unlucky. They were unlucky on the night, and it was on the one night that they shouldn't have lost that they did. But Fulham fully deserved to win that match. Even though I do love Gerard, I mean he was my idol back in the day when I was growing up. But like Jesus, I don't know I don't know. I'm actually speechless when it comes to Villa because I think they've got one of the poorest seasons so far for this current campaign. I don't know. What do you think, Andreas?
I think it's important also to remember that now Gerard is actually getting sacked. He got sacked and is no longer in Villa. I think with what you're saying with Fulham, I think Fulham is a really really good team, and it's not only just Mitrovic. But I remember the matches where he was not there. They were not the same team, and I think just
yes,
him being there, maybe he doesn't score goals. He did here,
Yeah,
but on
yeah, I
penalty.
get
But
what you're
just him
saying.
being there is
Yeah,
really important for them.
confidence.
Even if he doesn't score, just him being on the pitch really helps them. Um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, I think Fulham is doing a really good job, but I also think this is, as much as Fulham was good, this is also Villa making mistakes. And Mings, I
Bad
talked about him.
mistakes.
I talked about Mings in the Chelsea match. He made the mistakes that make Mount score 2 goals. Here he gets
Yeah,
yellow and he makes own goal, gets an
own
own
goal.
goal,
Yeah,
and of course a red card as well. To
and Douglas
uh,
Luiz.
yeah. So it really is, as much as it's Fulham being great, I really think Villa also are making some mistakes. And I hate to say it, but I kind of think Gerard is a part of it in that. I kind of think that he's not quite like, one thing is Mings making mistakes, but when both Mings and the other guy here, I don't remember his name again, sorry, the guy that gets red card, when both those make so big mistakes, one red card and one own goal, I really start to
Douglas Luiz.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you, Warren. Good, I have you. But yeah, when two different guys make so big mistakes, I'm starting to think that maybe the manager is kind of involved in it. And so and Villa have not been doing good at all. So it's a new chapter for them, and that's going to be interesting. Who is their new manager? Who was it? They signed a new one, right?
Steve
I
Bruce,
didn't.
I think.
Yes, Steve Bruce,
Yeah.
I
former
don't know him.
Newcastle manager, isn't
Wow.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have a question. Just before we move on, do
Yeah.
you think because a lot of you see, Scott Parker got fired for Bournemouth last season, Sean Dice got fired for Burnley after they've had a poor run, and now Villa. It's like this precedent where the managers get sacked because the team is doing poorly. And yes, it's the manager that watches them in training and who decides who plays and who comes off the bench and all that stuff. But do you really think that a new manager will change the way that current Villa team is playing? Because he's inheriting those players that's doing so bad at the moment. I mean, Danny Ings is supposed to lead that team. If they don't have Watkins, I don't know what they're gonna do. Coutinho has not been at his best at all the season. I don't know what Ramsey is doing. Uh, the defense has not been. I don't know. Tyron means that, that's all I will say. So does the bringing in a new manager really going is it really going to help Villa? Because he's inheriting that same people. It's not as if they were this great team and they had just had a. I mean, just I don't know. Maybe I'm expressing myself wrong, but a new this president that the Premier League has, where they just I mean it's not the Premier League, but the bosses of the clubs, where they just feel like okay, you had a bad like Bournemouth 9-0, okay, we fire the manager. Somebody else can just come and I mean even though Gary O'Neill has done a great job with Bournemouth, Wolves manager got sacked. This is now the third one this season, Steven Gerrard sacked, and we're already talking about Lampard being the next one maybe out of the door. Is this just about putting a new person in the coach's driver's seat and let's see how they do? Or I mean, isn't it the players that's fully to blame for this?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think quickly. I mean, I think Chelsea is the biggest proof that this system works. But I guess not really because they're top teams, so they attract top managers. But if we're talking about the teams like obviously Bournemouth, who we thought it was unfair for him, or Scott Parker, it was unfair for him to be fired after losing 9-0 to a top team as Liverpool, and now he's out, and now Bournemouth seem to have been getting their feet in terms of good performances. I think also just having a new manager just inspires this whole mentality in players that this is a new manager, so there's a chance that we can do well. And then we end up seeing these players that we thought were finished or were bad turn into stars all of a sudden. So I think it does, whether it's just having a new person or whether it's the manager's impact.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think there are two sides to it. I think Richard is right that like Chelsea, Bournemouth, all these clubs is a good example of it actually working to get a new manager. And when a team fails, the manager usually has some kind of involvement in it. But I also agree with you, Ron, and I think that's the other side to it, that like the manager is not deciding how the players are playing, and of course maybe he has involvement in it, but he can't decide that Minks goes out and make terrible mistakes like that. He can't decide what's happening on the actual pitch. So I think there is the side to it that, and I think that's just Premier League and even football in general, that it's way too easy to say, okay, this is the manager, let's get rid of him, let's do something new. And I think it's kind of like because all the big teams do it, then the other teams start to see, okay, we have to do it as well. And it just becomes like everyone does it. Like it becomes okay. Yeah, exactly. And like
it's like this. It's like this norm now that everybody, like even the general public, is talking about. Like, oh, this team is doing bad for 3 games. Oh yeah, Jurgen Klopp is gonna get fired. Yeah. Not gonna get fired. Come on now, honestly.
Exactly. And I think that's completely spot on. And I think the Southampton is a really good example of this, where they lose 14-0 or something. And everyone is like, okay, the manager is getting sacked, but he stayed and it actually started working. They are in trouble now, but it worked for a really, really long time, and they did great after that. So I think it's just the culture that's starting to become way too normal to say.
But don't you think, just one last thing on this thing, because I've been watching the trend happening. Scott Parker said something in his exit interview about, how he was disappointed with the players and the whatnot. And then Gerard hinted a few weeks ago that, my job may be in trouble, stuff like that. Do you think that the managers are bringing this upon themselves and putting themselves in that spotlight? Because obviously, because there's stuff that they say in the exit interview. Because if you watch the players doing the exit interviews, like even when not exit interviews, but post-match, they will never be like they're like this robotic. It's about the team, and as long as the team, even though you want to brag and you want to put something, this person poorly, whatever, they can't do that. You can't do that in person to the person, not when the public is watching you. And I think that is also the main thing, is what you present. And I mean, Scott Parker said something in his exit interview about, he's disappointed to be a manager by this team because look how they lost, and Gerard hinting like, oh, my job might be in trouble. And now everybody's talking about it. That's just, and now it's the stigma that you create around yourselves by what you are saying, and I think that's the big problem.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I also think that I think being a manager is the hardest job ever, because you can't just, as a player, you can't just be sacked like that. Like, you can, we are legit. I know that they are earning a lot of money. I know that, but we are talking about the actual job. 5 bad matches that the team is playing, and you can actually lose your entire job. And that must
the
be
problem is you can't fire the team. I think that's the problem. You can't fire somebody like Ronaldo. You can't fire him because he's in the team. He's a player. He gets the big bucks, but you can bench him. But now the thing is, what the manager is, what it's easiest to say that what the big boss is saying is like, I can fire the big boss because I can't fire the team. I can't fire, and I can bring somebody else in that's going to punish that team player.
Yeah,
you know, so that's I think that's the issue.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think that's really I get they're saying stupid stuff sometimes to managers, but I also get that it's a really difficult situation. So sometimes maybe they feel like they need to talk about other stuff being wrong, so it doesn't end up on that. I think it's just the whole culture of sacking that's just becoming way too toxic.
But way too common. It's becoming way too common.
And yeah, exactly. And also quickly, I think also just looking at Villa, what is their goal? If we actually look at it, what is it that made you sack Gerard? I get it's bad results and all that kind of stuff, but what is
I just think that the public, the actual Villa fans turned on Gerard, and it was just like there was no coming back from them. You could see on the faces like they were done with him, and I think that was just the beginning of the infamy at the beginning of the season when they started playing badly. But I think we need to. Richard wants to move on to the next one.
Richard wants to go to sleep, so let's move on.
It's let's move on to the next one.
No, it's okay. We have less games to sort of manage with City obviously not playing, so we can afford to have time to chat about those. But Leicester, a team that we thought was having a bad spell, seems to have gotten away with 2 goals and a clean sheet against Jesse Marsh's Leeds, which had 3 times the number of shots Leicester had. It's this game could have easily ended as a draw. I really want Jesse Marsh to win, but he's just unfortunate. I just don't know what's happening because he's getting that possession, he's getting those chances. But again, it's always the same story where he just doesn't get those 3 points at the end of the game. And then we have Denny Ward, the replacement of Kasper Schmeichel, obviously getting man of the match with the blocks, the never-ending by blocking the never-ending shots from Leeds. So props to him. People are saying, Andres was saying, oh, they fired Schmeichel. Oh, Leicester's over. But he seems to be doing well, filling in those big boots. Andres, what are your thoughts on Leicester's win?
He's doing well, but I don't think he's Michael, and I'm going to keep that opinion. But he is doing well, and I think they have. Let me see here. I think they have 3 clean sheets now, Leicester. Wow. So that's actually pretty impressive, especially when you know that City and Newcastle on first place have 5, so they are actually pretty close. So that's really impressive. I think, I've said this before, and I'm keep saying it, Leeds is the most inconsistent team in Premier League right now. And what I mean by that is that when they are at the absolute highs, they can win against almost every team. When they're at the absolute lowest, I think that they will lose to any championship team, to be honest. and I think that's really what we see here. An own goal by Robin Koch. Yes. Koch, don't know how to pronounce it. And like that's a part of the story. Like Leicester winning, sure, but one of the goals is an own goal, and that is an important part of it. But I think again, this is I think the defense is getting better for Leicester, and that's great for them, and it's starting to go up. But I do kind of feel like this is more Leeds being inconsistent than Leicester being good, and Leeds having most possession, not by a lot, but yeah. And Leicester only have 1 shot on target in the entire match. So again, I feel like
which led to the goal.
What? Yeah, that
I'm saying
scored
we
the goal.
to the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, sure. Leicester is starting to move up. It's great, but I do think this is also Leeds just dropping the ball. To be honest.
Yeah, and another thing I just want us to chat about is Marcelo Bielsa. Obviously, like I said, one of the best managers of all time. When he was managing Leeds, they went. I think they finished 10th place. Yes, they were conceding three, 6 goals, but the next game they'd score five. Backwards. And I think under Jesse Marsh, they don't have the same attacking threat that they used to have under Bielsa, and I think Leeds kind of didn't see that. Either they need to bring Marcelo Bielsa back, of which I doubt he would. Who knows? But I really enjoyed having him in the Premier League because he had such a huge influence, and his football was always amazing to watch. From literally match day 1 till match day 19, amazing. So Warren, slight thoughts on that?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Jesse Marsh has been doing okay. He had a decent start to the season, but I think they're missing the key players.
Something
Phillips, they're missing Rafinha. Bamford hasn't been very consistent. He hasn't been able to score. He misses penalties.
like Calvin
They've
Phillips.
got two. Yeah, they're missing Calvin Phillips. He's also injured now again. They've got Aronson and Tyler Adams in now. Aronson at the beginning of the season, he was doing good. He was getting goals in even against Chelsea, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. They seem to be slipping, and it's gonna be Jesse Moss's job to try and figure out how to turn around this sudden slope that they are
Yeah,
experiencing because his current squad is not doing it for him. Where is Greenwood? Where's Sam Greenwood? I haven't seen him play. Everybody had him in their fantasy at the beginning, and he's not playing.
yeah. It
And
looks like all
it's
the top players that Leeds have, all of them were just sitting at the bench, like Luke Ayling, Liam
Yeah,
Cooper,
where is Luke
Madison,
Ayling? The
Clear.
people that's been defensively strong in past games, they're not getting the playing time that Jesse Moss obviously has a different, angle this season when it comes to a different approach when it comes to this new season, but it's clearly not working. So he needs to go back, like I said, to go back to the drawing board and figure out what is um, going to what is it going to take for them to prevent this downward spiral? Because if they continue like that, they're going to be back where they were at last season, stuck in a battle to stay alive in the Premier League with Everton and um, you know Leicester, Forest, and those people, Wolves. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know really much about. I don't have really much to say more about it than they need to ship up or they're gonna shape out, and it's as easy as that.
Yeah, I guess before we close off, we can just talk about important games we're going to be having in this weekend, which is Chelsea versus Man United. Obviously, it's a big
Woo,
game.
woo.
There's so much we obviously hope. I mean, obviously, Andreas would hope that Chelsea wins at home, but hopefully, Man United pulls off a Liverpool on them or something.
I
Andreas,
definitely think
thoughts?
it's gonna be a. I definitely think it's going to be a draw. To be honest,
Oh,
I
I
think it's
think
gonna be a
United lose.
2-2. I
I,
think it's gonna be a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
I have not made my predictions yet. We have this chat where we make predictions. I have not,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
done that yet, but I think we're winning. I do. I do think we are still a really strong team, but I also think that it's going to be a really interesting manager game, like Ten Hag versus Potter. I think that's a really interesting match
Yeah.
actually. Um, but I think we are winning, but it will be close. Clearly.
Yeah, and another big game to look forward to is Spurs versus Newcastle. Obviously, Spurs is the team. I think it's a third place at the moment or fourth. And then we have Newcastle, who's been a very newly scary team. So, what are you guys' thoughts on where the game is most likely to be headed in, like which direction?
that's gonna be a tough game.
Yes,
That's gonna be a
exactly.
tough game. But I mean, if I mean, Brighton almost won against Spurs. So was the loss of words? The way Newcastle is playing this season, like I could actually
Surely
see
they're gonna win.
Newcastle. Excuse me.
I think surely they're gonna win.
I think they can edge it out if they play it smartly, especially with the form that with the players that Spurs has at the moment. They don't have that striking force in front. I think Spurs' most dangerous player is Kane at the moment, but I mean he needs those chances, and Sun is not giving it to him right now, and we've talked about it. So I do think it might end up in a draw, but I could see that Newcastle edging out a win over Spurs.
I agree. I think looking at it right now, I think Newcastle will be the favorites, honestly. But I just like we have just seen how Spurs just sometimes Son and Kane can just find each other. Even if they had a whole season where they didn't do it, they can still sometimes there's just really magic there. So I will never be able to say okay Spurs doesn't have a chance at all because they always has a little chance. But looking at it right now, Newcastle is favorites.
Because the way Newcastle plays, they play with intensity, they press, they compress the team into sort of like a low block, and that's the game that Spurs plays. They play a low block, they keep the ball and counter attack. And question is, does Newcastle have a good enough defense, especially in those centre backs, Sean Botman, to prevent big players like Harry and so on? So guess you guys are right. It's not going to be an easy one for
That's
you.
gonna be a that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be a really really tough one.
I guess last game would be the Manchester City versus Brighton game. Brighton
Ooh,
has been going through a set of
ooh.
bad spells, and which better team to have a good spell and regain your confidence against, if not Man City? I mean, we beat them. Surely they've lost confidence. Surely they've lost confidence in themselves. I forgot they have
I
Haaland,
don't.
so surely not.
No, I think City is gonna come out guns blazing, especially because of that Liverpool
Then
loss. So I feel sorry for Brighton, even though I do believe Brighton can hold them. I do think
Mossad.
they can. They've got the capacity to hold them, but I think oh my gosh, I think they are in for it with City. After that Liverpool loss, oh my goodness, I am excited to see that game. I'm excited to see that game, but I do
Yeah.
think City is winning it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Brighton's best chance is to try something new. I think this is really the match where the manager has to say, okay, I have this style I want to play, 4-2-3-1. Let's try something like that. I think that like because if Brighton plays like they have done the last three games, then they don't have a chance. And what they have
Mm.
been best at is possession, and they're not going to have that against City. So they need to try something else.
They're not gonna have that against City.
Yeah, and maybe if they do something new, I think they actually have a chance because Brighton is a really good team. But if they play like they have been doing the whole time, then they're going to lose really really big.
Yeah, or they could copy Liverpool and obviously have that 4-4-2 low block, and then I'm not sure if they have enough
Oh my
counter.
god! I think all of the teams coming up that's gonna face City is gonna watch that Liverpool game and see what Liverpool did against Haaland just to prevent him from scoring. Maybe that Dylan Oliphant guy that's on Facebook saying that we must stop Haaland because he's a DC villain.
Yeah.
Maybe all the other teams are gonna unite now, but I mean that's wishful thinking. But if they're smart, they'll do that.
Yeah, I guess on that humorous note, we'll end this week's podcast. Thank you to the people that commented. Thank you to the few people that have viewed the podcast, even after it's done airing as a live. And yeah, thank you from myself, Andreas, and Warren. See you
Yeah.
guys next week, Tuesday. Bye bye.
Cheers.